Moments ago along the shores of Lake Erie, the 5th round of the 2005 Toyota Atlantic Championship came to a close as Dutchman Charles Olsman captured the top step of the podium. He went to the lead from the outside, but Catherine Legg runs afoul of Cleveland's infamous turn 1. Watch here, too fast, too deep, too late. She was frustrated and parked. Kasmans goes to the lead, Wolsman defends, and behind this duo, the duo from row 2 staged the Torridge battle. Rookie Andreas Wirth in the yellow Swift, the faster Swift of Antoine Bissett follows, but he loses downforce, tags the wall, and for the second time this year, this team, Condor Motorsports, and their drivers celebrate a victory. Welcome back to Cleveland and Burke Lakefront Airport for the 6th round of the Toyota Atlantic Championship for 2005. After that battle in the 5th round of the championship, points look like this. Olsman closes to within 3 of Kasmans. Bissett falls back, Wirth and Legg drops to 5th. And Justin Sofio expands his margin with a win in the 5th round in the Yokohama C2 Cup. Hi again, everybody. I'm Greg Kramer, and joined once again with Jan Beekes and Brian Till. It's truly our pleasure to bring you the second part of this Cleveland doubleheader. Step 1, our starting lineup. So let's get you to that. And the pole, his second of the season, the gentleman who just won that 5th round, Charles Olsman, joined by Tonis Kasmans, his 4th front row start. Row 2 was swept by the locally based Polestar Racing Group. A great effort for them.
Going into round 6 of the Toyota Atlantic Championship, teammates share the second row. Catherine Legg will start from her best qualifying position of the year. She'll roll off 4th, while Antoine Bissett will start 3rd. Antoine, you've not qualified outside the top 5 all season long, but this is the end of the first half of the season. What's it going to take to win this championship?
For this race, we only need 2 tenths, but for the rest of the championship, we're in good shape. I think for the championship, we have a great team, and Polestar is the best team that I went in with, so I think we have a good chance for the championship.
In row 3, it's Andreas Wirth, his first qualifying outside of the top 4, and David Martinez. In row number 4, it's Al Unser III and Chris Dyson. And for Just Al, he's got some mighty big shoes to fill here in Cleveland.
The name Al Unser is synonymous with victory here in Cleveland. Al Unser Sr. has won here, Al Unser Jr. has won here, and now it's Al Unser III's turn. Al, this will be your 4th Atlantic race this season. The good news is you're in the car for the rest of the year. You're getting used to it. Is it time to join your grandpa and your dad on Victory Circle here?
For sure. You know, I'm getting tired of putting around it. You know, I need a good podium here, and we'll see what we can do. You know, I keep getting used to the BOSpoker.net car, and each time we click away faster and faster.
Row number 5, Tom Nastasi after that great run in the 5th round moments ago, and Leonardo Maya. Row number 6, Dan Selznick and Dan Cobb, second in C2 points. Row 7, the C2 points leader, Justin Sofio and Daryl Liskey. In row number 8, it's Rich Zober and Chris Soliotis. And for Mr. Soliotis, qualifying for this race was a fraught affair. Watch this, heading into turn 8, big wiggle, and can't save it. Bang, left side of the car gone as he hits the wall, exiting turn 8, and qualified in the 17th spot is Bob Siska. Now, Soliotis' moment happened in turn 8. On the other side of the track, with our resident driving instructor, class is about to begin. Brian?
Well, Greg, every time we come to Cleveland, we talk about turn 1 and the problems that happen down there. In round 1 here at Cleveland, Catherine Legg found out the hard way. She tries to go up the inside, makes contact with another car. Her day is done. When you come to Cleveland as a driver, you need to keep 4 things in mind when it comes to getting through turn 1. Number 1, survive. If you don't get through there, you don't get to the checkered flag, you don't win. Go to number 2. You worked hard in qualifying. Just work on holding your position. Then down to number 3. Don't be so cautious that you give up a lot of positions, and the very last thing on your list should be gaining positions in turn 1. The entry is so wide that holes open and close so quickly, you'll get drawn into making a mistake, just like Catherine Legg and many other very good race car drivers have done here in the past. Jan?
Well, Brian, of course, most drivers get those priorities reversed. Now in turn number 1 for this round, no barrel, no yellow line restriction. It's all wide open into the first turn.
Just let her fly. Now, speaking of flying, we get onboards from helicopter shots. We were on board with Catherine Legg. It goes to hash. The reason? The helicopter crash landed. The pilot is Rob Wheeling. He did an amazing job of bringing it down. It was a heroic effort, folks. We're very glad he's okay. And we are watching for the start here for round 6. The green is out. Zolzman to the inside, but there's the fan out. Catherine Legg way to the outside. She wanted no part of that mess down inside, and that may play out really nicely for her. She may come out in the 3rd spot, and it's Kasmets into the lead also from the outside.
And it was Zolzman from the pole position that just did not get a good start. He still seems to be dropping back. Maybe missed a gear or something, but all of a sudden not up to speed.
Swallowed up big time. It's Kasmets, then the orange car in second of Bissett. The next yellow car is Worth, then Legg, and then Zolzman now sitting in that 5th spot. So yeah, he wrong spot, just got steamrolled really.
Very interesting because he is known as being just an excellent driver on starts and restarts, but something happened there, certainly just didn't get that momentum, and he was swallowed up in a hurry.
I wonder if he was just overly concerned with protecting the inside, not letting somebody do something there, and just was slow in, slow out.
It was a bit early to be protecting the inside, but just again, for some reason, not the kind of acceleration. But now, he certainly appears as though he's got his bit between his teeth. Tonis Kasmets said he thought this race was all going to be about the start. Well, if that is the case, he's obviously exactly where he wants to be.
Well, he was on pole for round 5, lost it to Zolzman with that outside move of Zolzman's. He returns the favor. Problem is, Antoine Bissett, we saw him in that 5th round moments ago, was awfully quick. He was just hung up behind Worth. And right now, he is not really letting Kasmets get away at all. I think this should be a very good battle. I think Bissett is hungry.
He is, and one of the things that they felt about his car is that they thought they had it too stiff. So I'll watch it as it goes across the bumps today. It has a little bit of a different attitude. They've softened the car up. They think it's going to be faster, and he's more comfortable. He likes a car that's stiff and bucks around because he likes to do it, but they found out it's not as fast.
Well, this is one of those tracks where, I mean, it's got to be a huge compromise because stiff can be quick, but it is so bumpy in the transitions here. And I've heard that some drivers are saying it seems bumpier than it has been even in the past.
I think that's relative to your setup. Certainly the bumps change around here, but anytime you haven't raced here for a while and you come back, you say, man, this is bumpier than I remember, because it is really amazing. But to me, I think it makes it fun.
And Zolzman is on the move. He's gone around Catherine Legg, and he sits in the 4th spot. And Brian Tilley may have had problems at the start, but he's hooked up and booking now.
Yeah, Greg, I checked in with the team. There was really no problem mechanically at the start. They said, quite honestly, he was just sleeping, not ready for the start, got caught off guard, and that put him back. But I can tell you, I watched him in warm-up this morning. He is spectacular on the brakes down into turn 1, and he is on a charge right now. Keep your eye on him.
That's him, number 11, tucked right in behind Andreas Worth, and showing the nose a little bit here and there, just sort of fainting right now. Boy, Worth got kind of a little bit further inside than he may have wanted there. It had a real rough ride over that apex.
There's a lot of dirt on the racetrack before they arrive. That's one of the things that does happen here at Cleveland. If you have someone who gets too far to the inside ahead of you, next person to come around or next group of cars to come around, you got to negotiate that dirt. And trust me, with slick tires, there's not much grip on dirt.
And in these cars, as we have a good look there at Worth with the 240 horsepower and the speed that they have here in the open confines of this track, a cost of momentum can really hurt you. For Andreas Worth, it has been an interesting season, of course. Very, very quick. He was actually leading in Portland. Then that bump from Tonis Kasmets demoted him for a spot yesterday in a great battle for 3rd with Antoine Bissett, and he was able to hold him off. Worth picks up a 3rd spot here just a few moments ago. So Andreas certainly has been very fast all season long. He too is hungry. You take a look at what happened. Problem in Long Beach, 8th in Monterey, and then he's been podiums ever since. So very, very strong. And oh, look at this again. Bissett, much like we just saw in that replay, was Worth. Bissett trying the outside of Kasmets, this time for the lead. And Bissett, boy, I tell you what, he's got a great run in that part of the track.
But momentarily, Bissett was leading, but Kasmets got it back.
Sometimes it's position versus speed, and Bissett had the speed there, but Kasmet's position at that moment a little better. There's what I'm talking about. He had to check out of it. He's lost momentum. Now Worth is hounding him for 2nd. Welcome back, and we have a new leader. It is Antoine Bissett. And Zolzman looks like he may have gone by and picked up a spot as well. So Bissett, not to be denied, just very, very quick. And it is Zolzman and Worth. So Kasmets, obviously something happened and he got moved offline or something of the sort. And he's now gone from the lead to 4th.
And he said the race would be all about the start. It turned out it wasn't all about the start. Thought that if he got out front that he had the kind of speed to be able to maintain it. But today it appears as though we have 4, possibly 5 cars. Uh-oh!
Kasmets is off, and you've got the great onboard look now from his car, thanks to BSI for being able to bring us those shots. And for Kasmets, that was huge. I mean, he's lost it all right now. I mean, he didn't hurt the car, but he's got, I would suspect, a lot of junk in the radiator inlets, and it's another warm day here. And here's the other onboard shot we're going to have, or one of the other ones, from Catherine Legg. So nice to have the onboards back.
It is, and great timing as far as Tony's Kasmets. He obviously has got some kind of handling issue that is major and not minor, because that car just didn't turn. He went straight off the outside of turn number 7 on the approach to 8. And my guess is that was developing earlier. That's why he lost and fell on the lead.
There is a look at Catherine Legg sitting in the 4th spot right now on the heels of that 4th place qualifying effort, her best to date this season, and doing a nice job right now as we hop back on board. And again, I would like to just make a huge thanks to BSI, because after that chopper crash, they had to scramble to get another chopper in here within less than 24 hours. So incredible job by them. Talk about dedication to serving the viewer as best as possible, and we thank them and hope you're enjoying the shots that they're getting right here. And Catherine Legg working through turn 8, sweeping onto that long run here.
Up to almost 150 miles an hour. Kasmets back up and running. This is where he went off. Certainly the most difficult and highest G-force corner you're going to have on the racetrack. 100 miles an hour at the apex, and now he'll go up, as we said, to 150 before this chicane.
Yeah, that turn virtually never ends, pretty much 6, 7, 8, all part of it here. There is Kasmets now working through 9 and 10. It's a quick right-left combination onto the pit straight. And watch what happens right here. Just big loose.
Yeah, it starts to step out, and when he tries to throw the correction, hits the bump just the wrong way. Of course, he does the wise thing. He straightens it up, but unfortunately, he's going to lose a lot of positions in the process. So right here, the car steps out. Very difficult. That is 125 miles an hour right there where the car stepped out, and you've got to be awful quick to gather that up. But thankfully, hopefully it's just grass damage. Brian?
Well, Alan O'Leary is the engineer for Tony's Kasmets, and you and I talked earlier. You made some changes from yesterday, and they're not panning out, it doesn't seem like.
Actually, he liked the car the first couple of laps there. I think he's made a couple of little mistakes. The lap times are still good. There's still 25 laps to go, so we've slid back a bit here, but he just needs to knuckle down. We need points out of this, so I think we can probably still get back to a podium position here. Full course yellow, who knows? So he hasn't complained about the car, but yeah, he has made a little mistake, and you can't do that at the front end of this field.
No, you definitely can't, guys, and I did hear Alan saying to Tony's on the radio, buckle down, we've got to have the points, bring it back up as far as you can.
Well, as we were on board with Kasmets, he's closing on Chris Dyson. That would be for 6. Meanwhile, up front, Antoine Bissett doing a superb job. The unique auto design Swift from that Polestar Racing Group, based just down the road in really a suburb of Cleveland, Chardon, Ohio. And tell you what, you love it when you have a race like this basically at your home track. And Bissett doing them proud. The local team up top here at Cleveland. Unreal. Tuesdays at 8:30 Eastern, exclusively on Speed. We are at Speed once again. Catherine Legg now sitting in the 4th spot in that PKV Racing Swift, also from Polestar Racing, and doing a very nice job. And she's got 4th, Brian, but she's losing the top 3.
Well, she may be losing the top 3, Greg, but she's not losing any fans. In fact, she's made a lot of them. You look here, a little girl named Emmy drew this for Catherine Legg. It's a picture of Catherine in her race car, one of her biggest fans, and Catherine actually going to sign that for her at the end of the race today. So Catherine Legg may be losing the top 3 right now. You never know, a full course yellow could bring him back, but she's making fans over here in the States, Greg.
Well, again, she had that historic win at Long Beach, and she's really has just jumped to the front of the exposure charts in a lot of ways, and deservedly so. That was a huge moment. Meanwhile, Bissett is leading, but Zoltzman, after tailing off just a little bit, looks like he's got the bit between his teeth once again and has reeled him in just a little bit. The margin just a tick over half a second.
And for Antoine Bissett, traditionally, the way they set the car up, you look at the trap speeds, he's a little bit quicker down the straightaways than some of the other cars. They don't run quite as much wing or downforce. And for Charles Zolzman, what he had done in the previous round here, he had taken some of that wing out. That's what made him racy. So now maybe he can catch him on the straightaway.
Let's take a look a little bit as Bissett into some traffic. Let's take a look at his season thus far, and it has been a good one. Well, hang on here because we may see Zolzman coming up. Well, anyway, Bissett had the pole at Long Beach, but once the race unfolded, after Catherine got in front of him, he just couldn't quite catch her. In Portland, he battled with Charles Zolzman in the second race, ended up finishing 5th. And of course in Cleveland, we just talked about it moments ago, hit the wall for 3rd in round 5, but right now made good and leading in round number 6 right now. But he and Zolzman are working through traffic, some very exciting moments. And once again, even with the open confines we talked about of this track and a field of 17 cars, you'd think, oh, plenty of room out there. But there's one fast line in these corners, and if somebody else is occupying it, they're not quite on your pace, it gets interesting.
And what we heard yesterday from the person who was following Zolzman, which of course was Tony Skazimets, he said, I think my car was a little bit faster, but as soon as you get close enough in these high-speed corners to lose the air over the front of the car, you just can't seem to stay closer. So what Charles Zolzman's now going to try and do in second is try and get a run somewhere, like right here. If this is a case where Bissett can't really get on the power hard because of lap traffic, this will be, oh, this should be an opportunity for Zolzman to be a little quicker off the corner and maybe pick up a draft.
Well, let's see here. Zolzman right now actually kind of trapped behind that lap car. Now he's going to pop out and make the pass, but he's a little offline on the approach to the chicane, which can hurt him here on the exit. It's give and take, isn't it?
I thought that Bissett may have lost a little bit there, but I think he may actually gained a little bit coming off by picking up a draft of his own. But again, difficult to follow close in the very high-speed sections. You have to kind of set it up for a place where you can do some outbraking.
Bissett currently fast lap of the race at this stage, and of course has a lap for a point for leading laps. Those are all bonus points, and they are incredibly crucial there. And Brian Till, Antoine Bissett, dealing with the pressure very nicely.
He is indeed dealing with the pressure, Greg. You know, one of the things that happened to him yesterday, Jan was just talking about the aero. He crashed because he got caught up behind the car in front of him, lost the aero down in the high-speed sections. But I just asked him about the balance of the car for today. They're very happy with it. They set it up for neutral conditions. They think it's going to go to push. He's got adjustments in the bars in the cockpit. He can work on it. But right now, so far, that car is hooked up.
Thanks, Brian. Let's go back and take a look at what's unfolding in the battle for 7th. And Chris Dyson is currently the driver sitting in the 7th spot. That is that blue and white car. Right in front of him right now is Al Unser. So that's 6th and 7th. 8th is Martinez. And these two guys having a good scrap. Interesting story for Dyson yesterday. He said his radio came loose in the cockpit of the car, and he was trying to jam it between his leg and the tub. He said it kept popping out and bouncing around, and he said, I just pitched it out of the car. And the good part of the story was they found it later, still working.
Yeah. He said at one time it actually jammed the steering up in one of the chicanes, and so that's when he knew he had to jettison it.
Yeah, he said that was when Unser got by him. He said it shouldn't have been quite that easy. Now we're on board with Tonis Kazmits once again, who has fought his way back up into the top 5. So Kazmits having a good run. And now here is another look at Charles Zolzman, and he has gone by Bissett and picked up the lead, and traffic probably played some sort of a role there because it was a big margin.
Talked about how Charles would be waiting for an opportunity to pounce. Again, traffic certainly seems to play a part. It did in the previous round, and again, playing a part today.
So Zolzman started on pole, lost it, was as far back as 5th at one point, and has just put his head down and come up through the pack very, very effectively and played a nice game in traffic, and he is now back in the lead as we have completed now 13 laps of 32 here in Cleveland. So it's Zolzman, Bissett, Worth, Legg, and Kazmits charging as well.
Yokohama is the official tire of the Toyota Atlantic Championship. What that means is they're responsible for bringing a transporter, tires, and service personnel to every Toyota Atlantic Championship event. On any given weekend, that's a lot of work for guys like Scott Kellick here as you watch him mount this rear Yokohama racing slick for the Toyota Atlantic machines. But at Cleveland, it's a double race weekend. That means these guys will mount and dismount almost 800 individual tires. And it's hot here this weekend, 95 degrees, high humidity. You think the drivers work hard out on the racetrack? What about the guys that support them back in the paddock?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the crews, whether it's the tire crews, the team crews, or whatever, that are the unsung heroes of this sport without question. The drivers certainly put in the risks on the track. But well, I'll tell you what, they wouldn't be anywhere without those crews doing the job. On board with Catherine Legg, and that is Tonys Kasmets, and he is closing on Catherine rather quickly right now. And again, you got to be careful at this stage with that arrow. We've talked about it. And Jan, explain that a little bit for people who may not quite understand the aerodynamics of these cars.
Well, obviously you've got air going over the front and the rear wings, and as this is a perfect view of it, is that the air is now being disturbed over the front of Tonys Kasmets' car, but now it's giving him a draft, so he should be able to tuck to the inside here and pull off the slipstream.
Which he does as we hop on board with Tonys. Boy, those BSI onboards, absolutely fabulous in close quarters racing like this, and he makes that pass. The draft obviously played key, but if he had been behind her coming into that turn, he doesn't have air on that front wing. Correct. Push, bad news.
Well, see, she took the air off of him there that gave him that slipstream, just like if you were driving your car down the highway, you get behind an 18-wheeler, you're going to feel that. But unfortunately, if you're turning, like you say, Greg, and you don't have air on the front wing, that's a big problem.
Let's take a look at Catherine's season so far. Of course, that historical win in the season opener at Long Beach. But bad luck in Portland's first race left her 9th. And then, of course, moments ago, we saw that start in turn 1 for the 5th round of the championship. And that's the look of somebody who, 1, knows they made a mistake, and 2, knows points slipped away after what could have been a very good start for her. But, hey, Brian made the other comment earlier in the show. A lot of great drivers have been caught out by Cleveland's turn 1.
Oh, yeah. Including Brian Taylor.
Yes. And Calvin Fish and a number of others of the speed crew.
And Jan Beekes.
I don't know if I've been caught out or not. You check that.
You've been swallowed up in it, obviously. At some point you've been involved, but maybe not adversely affected. There's the leader, Zolzman, now. And, boy, once he got in front of Bissett, he has been able to open up almost a 3-second margin. So, and Brian was talking about watching him in practice this morning. He said he's just brilliant under braking into turn 1. But that car just looks to be dialed.
It does, and he obviously has the kind of confidence where he wasn't rattled by that not-so-good start. So many other people would say that, oh, well, what's happened here? I've lost my opportunity, and he obviously used a lot of patience, as he's doing right here. I mean, this is a case where you don't force the issue. You wait till you get off the final corner before making a move past other cars.
And that is the number 9 of Dan Cobb, by the way, the Camelot Construction entry. He was clipped by one of the cars in that opening melee, and turn 1 in the first race from here at Cleveland was damaged and was just cycling around way in the back. Car's healthy right now, and he is now leading the C2 division. So Dan Cobb back on form. Sat at the runoffs last year in Formula Atlantic, broke the track record in qualifying. So very quick driver in SCCA national competition, and right now leading the C2 class. Oh, right there. Bissett obviously still doing everything he can to try and stay as somewhat close to Zolzman, driving hard, back end, stepping out under braking, and costing him a little bit of time. But number 11, Charles Zolzman, the Condor Motorsports entry, the young Dutchman, once again showing the way in about midpoint here at Cleveland. Welcome back to Cleveland, everybody. The 6th round of the championship, 2nd round of a doubleheader here along the shores of Lake Erie. On board with Tonys Kasmets, sits in the 4th spot right now and running very quickly. But his problem is he is about 10 seconds back of Worth at this stage. And for Kasmets to have anything, he really needs a yellow here at this point to have a shot. Take another look at what happened to him heading into the final sequence of corners.
Got what we call a tank slapper. The back of the car comes from, obviously, from motocross. The back of the car started to step out, tried to throw in the correction, but just couldn't get it fast enough at 125 miles an hour. Again, this is wise. Once you get off the course, don't try and turn on grass. Get it slowed down, then rejoin. And obviously, he's now trying, like you said, he would love to have a full course caution, but he's doing the best he can under the circumstances.
Well, the one thing that I was kind of wondering about after that off-course excursion was the debris, the junk that gets up into the radiators, and he's running quick laps, so apparently not a problem there. Tonys Kasmets, well, exciting and frustrating for him has been the name of the season. The exciting part, that bump and pass in Portland's first round gave him the win. He went on to win round 2, and that prompted some huge celebrating with his crew And, of course, he's had an interesting race here in that first round of the doubleheader here at Cleveland that you just saw. And it's been interesting, if nothing else, once again for Tonys here. He is exciting. I often have wondered if Kazmits is an Estonian for excitement, because that tends to follow him around a lot. A lot of fun to watch.
And he does a lot of the work on the car himself. They have a small crew. He had a problem this morning in the warm-up where he got off course, broke a rear push rod, and he was running up and down the paddock this morning, picking up the parts, diving under the car with the wrenches. So he's an accomplished mechanic, engineer, and, of course, driver.
That's a guy who wants it bad.
Oh, yeah.
Who's doing all of that. So Charles Olsman up front, that margin has ballooned out just a little bit more now, up to 6 seconds, and he's running very quickly, but his lap times when he's clear and Bissett's clear are not that significantly different, a couple of tenths here and there. So Zolzman seems to be dealing with traffic exceptionally well. Just absolutely having some great runs here, and it's been a fun season for Zolzman. He had a huge flag-to-flag win, pulled the checker in Mexico, but some front wing damage in Portland. That didn't stop him from some aggressive moves that put him near the front in the second race. That was a good second place finish. And then he had some damage right here. Watch this, a little contact, bang, with Antoine Bissett. That ended up 8th in the second round in Portland of the doubleheader. And then, of course, a big win in the 5th round of the championship a little while ago here in Cleveland, and leading once again. So, boy, these doubleheaders, Olsman's loving them.
Well, it seems like whoever is the dominant driver in round number 1 of a doubleheader seems to certainly be the odds-on favorite. Now, we have a lot of racing to go yet. However, it certainly seems to be the case on doubleheader weekends that once someone gets a handle on a racetrack, it's tough to beat them.
Absolutely. And, you know, one thing we should refer to as well is that Zolzman, even though he ended up 3rd at Long Beach, he had the fastest time in qualifying. There was a slight technical infraction that ended up, so he would have had another pole without that. So he's been quick from the get-go. Here's Bissett now, and he sits in that second spot. He's got it back to about 5.5 seconds, so some traffic may be helping out. And Antoine throwing down some very quick laps. Just not enough. Zolzman has the answer, as you said, and is able to do whatever he needs to do to sort of drive the margin right now, as we are 21 laps complete here at Cleveland. Simple rules. Winner gets the other guy's car, loser walks. Pinks premieres Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, exclusively on Speed. Back at Cleveland, as we have now gone by the 2/3 point, 10 laps to go, and Catherine Legg continues to run very comfortably at this point in 5th, a number of seconds behind Kazmits, but a good 10 seconds clear of Chris Dyson right now. And so for Catherine, again, yellows would be what would help the people a little bit deeper in the pack. And Catherine's lap times, she's running mid-109s up front. We're seeing some mid-108, so it doesn't quite have the pace right now. But this battle between Dyson and Unser continues to be very stout. And Dyson had it for a little bit. Now Unser has gone back by him. Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle there for Al.
He had one earlier as well, and typically if you have a wiggle, this should be an opportunity for Chris Dyson, because you would think that Al's not going to be as quick off. Yeah, he's starting to get that look like he's going to dive inside.
Dyson way over, and then couldn't quite get it done. Decided I better get back. Oh, now he's loose, but he saves it, hangs on to it, but that's going to cost him a little bit. So Unser and that BOSpoker.net Swift able to fend off Chris Dyson right now, the Tedford Norcold Swift, and right there, Unser gets a little bit of a break as he puts a lap car between himself and Dyson. It looked like that may have actually slowed up Unser just a little bit. And Chris, that was a smart move, trying to draft that car for as long as he could, trying to get a little bit more of a run.
This has been just a great education for Chris Dyson. I mean, that's why he is here. Obviously, he would love to contest all the rounds of the championship. He's got some sports car commitments as well, but definitely starting to get comfortable in the car now. You can see that.
Yeah, Chris, the 2003, let's get the date right, what is now the class called LMP2 in the American Le Mans Series, won that championship. And at Mid-Ohio, the team went 1-2 at the ALMS race, and Chris put in a stellar drive there. And you're right, I mean, that's why he's here, is just track experience, more and more and more. It's a different deal, though, being mano-a-mano in an open-wheel car for a sprint race versus having teammates, pit stops, and long endurance racing, isn't it?
It is. One's like driving... one's like driving a skateboard, which I would say would be these cars. They definitely are very quick to react, and as you get heavier and more powerful, it takes on a different feel.
Ooh, Dyson locking up the right front under braking, just trying to do everything he can to find a way by Al Unser as they exit turn 1. And this is an interesting part of the track. It's just you just start building speed, build speed, swing out, and then that very quick dive into what they call turn 4.
Now, we've talked about driving skateboards, and that's in fact what Chris Dyson, he described it, actually thought he was like driving a motorcycle when he first came here. The car was too stiff, it hopped all over the place, like being on a skateboard, and said the big key to them was when they found a way to soften it up, get it to work on the bumps a little bit better, all of a sudden he started building a comfort zone. But when you watch Al the third right in through this section across that bump where we saw Kazimierz get in trouble, if he doesn't hit it quite straight, the car really steps out.
There is Zolzman up front, continuing to lead the margin back over 6 seconds right now. So it seems whenever Bissett gets a little break, closes up just a little bit, Zolzman has the answer, and he's keeping that margin up front between 5 and 6 seconds on a fairly consistent basis. As a matter of fact, just turned the race's fastest lap. We are back on board this time with Tony Kazimierz as he's working traffic at this point, sits in that 4th spot. He has trimmed a few seconds off of Worth's margin. It's now down to about 8 seconds, but Brian Tilley's running out of time.
He's running out of time, but every point counts. Obviously, we talked about Kazimierz trying to get back onto the podium to score points, but the other points that he wants to score, there are bonus points in the Atlantic Series. You get a bonus point for a pole position, leading a lap, fastest lap, and most positions improved. Right now, Carlos Bobeda looking intently at the timing and scoring screen. Kazimierz had the fastest race lap just a moment ago. Zolzman had just by 4/100ths of a second faster. You look at the points there on your screen, you see only a 3-point differential coming into this round, and they're fighting for every single point they can right now. Zolzman obviously had the point for the pole as Carlos Bobeda looks at the timing and scoring screen. It's not only a battle for who wins this race, guys, but who has the fastest race lap as well. It's another point in the championship hunt.
Well, and a great way to describe that is in the race we just saw, the 5th round here at Cleveland, had Kazimierz not knocked out that fast race lap on the second to the last lap of the race, that margin coming in would have been 5 points for Zolzman. I mean, it's very, very crucial in terms of the swing. There's a look at Chris Dyson, and he has gone by Unser. So this battle continues to be just very, very stout.
On the approach to the first chicane, he was able to get a good drive off that first corner and just push the issue. So at least for the moment, he's been able to retake that spot. Again, heavy pressure. And we can certainly see sometimes when he gets across the bumps, the car's not quite as happy. And I think that's where Chris took advantage of it.
Al driving for Brooks Associates Racing, longtime stalwarts in this series, and obviously he joined after a couple of races. He had a couple of races last year, but it's good to know that he's going to be around. Here's another look at it.
Again, you want to get yourself in a position, as Chris did there, that there's no way for the other driver to double back and try and retake you. So it's one of these things where you don't want to overpass someone. That's one of the tendencies you do here in Cleveland. Get in too deep, get too far by, then someone can duck back underneath. But in that particular case, very well done.
Yeah, I mean, he exited right where Al would have wanted to be. And it's interesting on a track like this, what you pointed out, sometimes if a guy's taking a run at you, the discipline of you just move over and let him go, you can set him up for what you said, sort of a counterpunch move. And it's the overtaking driver. Sometimes the most difficult part of the pass is completing.
Well, the trick is, if you're going to do that, though, if you're going to let him go, you have to get the guy to go deeper. So you have to fake. You have to get on the brakes really late and leave the door open and almost sort of bait somebody to go in too deep so you can repass.
Dyson, 6th spot, Unser 7th. And now Chris seems to be able to stretch that margin just a little bit here. He's opened it up to about 4 or 5 car lengths. But the way this battle has been going right there, Chris, if you would have run another ½ inch wide, you may have lost some momentum, and Unser would have been right there again. Up front, Zolzman now has opened it up to 8 seconds. So Charles Zolzman is stamping this race without question for him. What a run. On speed. Back at Cleveland on board Catherine Legg as we are closing up to about 3 laps to go in this one, and she still holds that 5th spot down in front of her Kazimierz, behind her Dyson, and again, just not a lot of traffic for Catherine in this race at this stage, except when she comes up to lap some Momedy. How do you keep your focus at that point?
It's a case where you're really just trying to do consistent lap times and do better lap times every single time. It's just a challenge. really against the clock. You can't really challenge other cars, like you said, for position, but you really got to focus on challenging the clock every single lap.
That is Martinez, the brightly colored car right there that Zolzman is coming up to put a lap on. Martinez right now running in the 8th spot, so that gives you an idea of just the pace that Zolzman has been setting here as he works up through the pack. There's Andreas Wirth sitting in the 3rd spot at this point, that number 8 KBE Profine entry. And again, it's sort of a quiet race for him. He's about 7 seconds behind Bissett. The problem is that Kazmits now has closed up to within 2 seconds of Wirth. There he is. There's the margin. And Kazmits coming on strong right now. And there is enough time with the rate that Kazmits has been closing. We now have 2 laps to go. He needs a little bit of help, but boy, he's flying.
Well, we heard from Alan O'Leary earlier, who's the engineer for Tonis Kazmits, and he said, well, I think a podium is possible. It's amazing to me how engineers can just quickly look at the figures and do it mathematically and say, okay, well, if we stay on it here, we've got an opportunity for the podium. And sure enough, as the race winds down here, he'll have a shot at it.
And there is Zolzman, who is now worked by the 8th place car of David Martinez. So Zolzman, pretty clear sailing for a little bit here. Some traffic up in front. But again, we expect to see the white flag coming out very shortly. Or actually, it is out. So this is the lap, final lap here. And Zolzman just needs to hang on to it here. He's got a big margin. Just stay clean, stay focused, and bring it home. It'll be interesting to see if Kazmit's able to do anything. Kazmit's last lap was a half second faster than Wirth. So just we'll throw that at you for something to chew on. And Bissett sitting in the 2nd spot. There's Carlos Bobeda, 2 in a row here, liking that.
Yeah, it is amazing to me, as we talked about earlier. It seems like the doubleheader weekends, it's the 2nd time, assuming he makes it across the line, that in fact the same driver will win both races at a doubleheader event. That for points, that is just huge.
So Zolzman now just got that little bit of traffic, but once you're dialed, you're dialed. And Carlos Bobeda, boy, not wanting to celebrate too soon, but Zolzman onto the front straight. He's got a lap car in front of him, no worries. Does the smart thing, just slows up a little bit. Gonna savor this moment, picking up that double checker for the 2nd race in a row. What a great weekend for Condor Motorsports and for Charles Zolzman, the Dutchman, here at Cleveland. Owned it.
Absolutely owned it. Antoine Bissett definitely gave him run for his money early on, but couldn't stay with him in the end.
And let's see, it looks as though Kazmits could not get Wirth. You saw how close it was. There's the yellow car, Wirth up front. So Kazmits ends up 4th, and Wirth gets himself another podium. And for Kazmits, he'll be thinking about that one just a little bit. And Brian Till, 2nd time here for this team this weekend.
Yeah, 3 wins for the season. A double on this weekend, Carlos. You've got to be ecstatic.
I am excited. We got worried in Portland when we finished so far back.
And I just heard you tell him on the radio as he came across the line, fastest lap too. You guys are greedy. You want every point you can get.
Well, I mean, you know, you do get greedy. I hate to run for points because it takes a little of the fun out of it. But when you get them, it's really exciting. You know, we got the fast lap, we got the most laps led, so we came out with all the marbles today.
And they've got the championship lead, guys.
And that's what it was all about. And Al Unser is off track. And see if we can show you why. He's got the steering wheel off and the whole thing, so something has happened. We're going to give you a look at it here. Ooh.
Oh. The final corner. Ay. If you want an idea of how fast they're going through those chicanes, that is 106 miles an hour at the apex, and obviously he was doing that one airborne.
Well, I tell you, he obviously was taking a serious last-ditch desperate run at Chris Dyson for that 6th spot and paid the price for it. But hey, the exciting action right to the checkered flag here in Cleveland.
Well, the man who wants a key to the city and maybe deserves one here in Cleveland, Charles Zolzman, 2 in a row here. You must be liking the taste of champagne.
Yeah, this was great. The car was so fantastic. The race was actually easy this time. Yesterday I had a really tough time, and the car was fantastic today. I had a small problem at the start because the no lift shift wasn't working. Somebody pulled the switch accordingly, I think. But after that, I passed them and it just went away.
Yeah, I had talked to Carlos Bobeda, and he said that maybe that they had forgotten to plug the alarm clock in this morning, that maybe you were a little bit asleep at the start.
No, it was in the car. We have a no-lift feature that you don't have to lift when you shift. and the switch was turned off. I don't know who did it, but maybe some rivals.
Well, he got it all worked out, guys. 2 in a row here in Cleveland, 3 wins for the season. Greg?
Claims of espionage here in the series. Well, that explained it. I mean, Jan, you mentioned it. You thought that something just didn't seem quite right, and now we know why. Here are the results. Zolzman, the final margin of victory over 10 seconds. That's huge in this category. Bissett and Kazmit both got points for leading a lap, so that's good for both of them. And then that Dyson-Unser battle was the best of the race, I think, without a question. We take a look a little bit further back in the pack, and you're going to see that in the 11th spot, Dan Cobb ended up with the win in C2, and Justin Sofio ended up 5th in that class. So that points battle is going to close up very smartly as well. Let's get right back down to Brian Till with our second place finisher.
Well, Greg, for Antoine Bissett, a much better result than yesterday in the first round here in Cleveland. But I thought maybe you would have something for Charles early in the race, but the car just didn't seem to respond towards the end.
Yeah, at the beginning of the race, we had the better car than Charles, but some point, we missed brake. I had to brake at the 4 marker instead of the 3 marker over there. I don't know exactly what happened, but that screwed me up a bit. But I'm pretty happy. It's good for the points, and looking forward for Toronto.
And the pass when Charles got by you, I mean, was that something that lap traffic had something to do with, or did you make a small mistake down in the chicane?
No, I didn't slow down enough for one, and he had a better run at me than me to exit of 1, so he repassed me.
Well, he's happy with second place. After the result in round 1, guys, second place seems almost like a win for Antoine Bissett.
Absolutely, and one of the things is, we talked about it, if you overshoot one of the corners here, the momentum that you lose gathering it up, straightening it up, getting going again, can hurt you 3, 4, 5 corners later in the lap. It's just that crucial. So current points, we were talking about it. Zolzman now in the lead by 7 over Kazmis, Bissett, Wirth, and Legg, and there you go. Tied in the Yokohama C2 Cup between Sofio and Dan Cobb. Great run for Dan Cobb here in the second part of the Cleveland doubleheader. Back down to Brian.
Well, Andreas Wirth, the podium is the place that you've been lately. What would you give to get the first 2 races back when you had those problems?
I would give everything, but I'm not happy with third place for sure. I'm happy to be on the podium, but my goal is to win, so we still have to improve something. And yeah, I'm happy I had a great start again, and then Tony's were behind me, or I overtook him, and then I think he was in the dirt or something, so I had a good run on him. He was very fast at the end, so I was happy when I saw the checkered, but that's okay. We struggled a little bit here in Cleveland. Two times P3 is okay for that, and now I try to do better in the next events.
Well, he's been very consistent, guys. Podiums the last 4 races. You heard him. He's not happy with the podium. He wants a win.
And there you see right behind him is Tonis Kazmis, the Flex Ovid gentleman. Let's go back down to Brian. You may have him.
Tonis, obviously not the way you wanted this race to turn out. Problems, I know you guys made changes to the car. Was the handling just not the way it needed to be?
No, the handling wasn't bad. It was a very good car, but on the start, Antoine Bissett just got a very good run, and just passed me, and it screwed me up, put him in 4th, and then I went off the course.
Well, obviously, disappointment on the face of Tonis Kazmit. He knows that he played a big part in the result today, guys.
And there's lots of racing yet to go this season, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of Tonis Kazmits at the front. Next round comes up, Toronto, Ontario. It's the 7th round, exhibition place, a fabulous street circuit in a beautiful city. That's Saturday, July 16th, 2 p.m. here at Speed. Do not miss it. For Jan Bikas and for Brian Till, thanks so much for joining us here at Cleveland. I'm Greg Kramer. We will see you next time from Toronto, and until then, do take care, everybody.